Hey guys, Dr. Novo DPT here with another video for the library of extended leverage sets. Today we're going to cover chest and back. So to review again, looking at the bell-shaped strength curve, muscles produce least torque on the left side of the graph when they are in a stretch position, produce the peak torque when they are about 90 degrees relative to the force, and then again produce less force as this tapers off on the right side of the graph when the muscle is most contracted. To better understand this, let's look at the actual unit of measurement within a muscle fiber known as a sarcomere. So when we're talking about increasing in fiber recruitment, we're actually talking about increasing in the myosin and actin cross bridges that connect and produce a power stroke or tension. In this graph, the vertical line represented by tension and our sarcomere length. So A would represent a muscle that's actually on a stretch position, again just like in the previous graph, is unable to produce a lot of tension. As those myosin and actin cross bridges line up perfectly, a larger amount of them can actually fire, producing more tension. And then as we taper off towards a now more shortened position of the joint, these myosin and actin cross bridges now somewhat overlap and they don't do a good job of producing tension. Because today's video is talking about the pec and understanding this sarcomere length to tension, let's look at a pec range of motion. So a completely stretched pec would have a horizontal abduction external rotation position of the arm, and a completely shortened pec would now be a horizontally adducted position and internal rotation of the arm. Reviewing this now, looking at that pec position, A would be the pec on stretch, B would be it in relationship to 90 degrees of tension, and then C would be it in its most shortened position. So when it comes to understanding how to perform an extended leverage set, really it could be taken in two ways, moving from A to B or moving from C to B. Either way, the principle is the same. You're moving from an area of least tension or strength or force production, moving to an area of more strength and tension or force production, and as so increasing the weight as we do. So in respect to that previous graph, these three images will follow a C to B progression. So we're looking at the angle of the body related to the angle of the horizontal plane, and the vertical, of course, is gravity. We can see here that as that bench goes down, that position is getting the angle of the body is getting closer to the horizontal plane of gravity, and hence allowing us to produce more peak tension or force in relation to gravity, because again, those muscle fibers, those actin and myosin cross bridges, are in a much better and optimal position to contact. So with this superimposed image, we have an understanding of how that body angle changes in relation to the horizontal. Gravity, of course, always staying constant, and how this would allow for our muscle fibers, again, to have more optimal alignment for more cross-bridge linking, and hence more tension and force production. So here we're going to see those three exercises performed back-to-back as they would be for an extended leverage set. Again, the extended leverage set allows us to continue to produce force and increase in resistance so that we're meeting both demands of increased metabolic stress and increased mechanical tension and stress, so that the environment basically is set for allowing our body to produce more cortisol, hence offset at the time of recovery with increased insulin, increased IGF production, growth hormone, and testosterone, all aiding in the production of protein synthesis. And again, proteins in general, although we've spoken about the actin and myosin filaments, aren't always being produced for helping us to produce more mechanical tension. So hence, we don't always just produce protein synthesis for proteins that are contractile, oftentimes the first cascade of protein synthesis helps the body to develop non-contractile protein molecules, which aid in size and mass and structural integrity of that muscle. So you saw me go through all 3 exercises. I did use variations in my hand position, either pushing with a supinated reverse to a standard bench and ending it with a body weighted exercise. Again, the whole idea is to meet those 2 demands of mechanical tension and metabolic stress to the area to help produce protein synthesis. If you have any questions about reverse presses and how that can help the shoulder, please leave them in the comment and I'll explain that a little further. So this is a nice extended leverage set that I like to use that now allows for a longer lever arm. Mind you, the position in the right there in that stretch position would be represented also with a flat bench position. But the difference is that now that the elbows are not bent, the elbows are slightly extended so that the moment arm increases, hence the ability to produce more tension or force increases. And in following our A to C or B, A to B or C to B pattern, this one would be A to B pattern, starting from a stretch position, working towards a shortened position. So now we're completely going into a shortened position, right? I'm moving now. I went from A to B, and now I'm actually moving from B to C, right? Using a more shortened position. This is a nice body-weighted close kinetic chain exercise I like to do for those small pec fibers right in the insertion into the sternum. And again, you can see I'm using my arm to help support me on the eccentric portion of it because it's pretty tough to do without that, but trying to generate as much force as I can concentrically. This would be a progression from that. Now using a bench, again, there's just more body weight on it. If you do get any shoulder pain with this, of course, listen to your body. Don't perform them. There's other ways to do this. Not every exercise is meant for every body. Right, and this is another variation, but this one being an open kinetic chain exercise, doing some lean away dumbbell flies. Again, if we're looking at the line of pull or relative to the position of gravity at that upper position, which is right there, that allows me to work those upper small pec fiber. So let's move on into back. In looking at the full range of motion of the lat, let's put a lat into a stretch position. So our stretch position is an overhead, shoulder flexion, abduction, external rotation, and a fully shortened lat would be now shoulder extension, internal rotation, adduction. And here we go. Again, I'm going to show you now from the frontal plane so you can get an idea of this. I hope you like my Ninja Turtle shirt. I know my son does. Okay, so there's our fully stretched lat, right? Flexion, abduction, external rotation. Here's our fully shortened lat, extension, internal rotation, adduction. And I'll show you one more time. So let's go ahead now with that, again, understanding of our ABC approach. Here I'm going to be working the lat in a stretched position. So this would be our A. So in this extended leverage set, we're going to work from an A to B. So most people, when it comes to behind the neck lat pull downs, really don't understand proper arm width position and don't understand that the exercise is predominantly performed with a stability at the middle and lower trapezius fiber. So you really are trying to squeeze those shoulder blades into scapular retraction and depression to allow for your lat then to be lined up appropriately to pull down. Again, you're not just tugging or trying to move that weight with your elbows or your arms. You're actually trying to use those
scapular stabilizers to again do just that, provide scapular stability to allow that lat to pull in a more optimal position. Now that we're moving more towards a shortened position, right, from our A to B, now we're going to start to do a front lat pull down. Okay, this exercise should ensure that the scapula again is pulled into just that. There you go. I'm showing you there on its own, right? Retraction, depression, and really helping to tuck those elbows in. Okay, moving on. Here we're now approaching that more 90-degree angle in respect to gravity. So this is a body weight Smith machine row or pull up, let's say, that I like to do. If you have TRX bands, this can work as well. It's just difficult to get your feet to stabilize on the wall enough to pull this way. But I like to use a Smith like this when no one's on it. And here you're going to see me just change the angle. All right, working now from a B position, and I may actually now go more towards again, trying to stay in a more shortened position. So now I'm moving from kind of a B to C position. So here we're going to move from a C to B. So I'm going from a bent over row, trying to produce as much contraction as I can using some holds, right? These are known as Meadows rows using a landmine press variation. This is best performed with 25-pound plates. I'm using 2 of them here. And the reason for that is just because the diameter gives you a good stretch. 35 and 45-pound plates, in my experience, are just too big in diameter and don't allow you to really produce enough tension. So now I'm moving myself up into a standing position, and again, just respecting changing that leverage position from a shortened C position. I'm moving more towards B position. But this is all free weights, so again, you have to understand that you're going to always be changing your body position relative to gravity as opposed to changing the pulley position. And then we're going to end this off with now the rest of the leverage set, now trying to draw in those trap fibers to then just a standing trap raise in respect using a longer hold time, right, more time under tension, again, to just meet that metabolic and mechanical stress demand. So I think this last couple exercises will really show a true understanding of that extended leverage set position. So here I'm on a stretch for those lats, right? I'm in overhead, slight external rotation. So this would be our A. Now I'm going to slightly increase my body's angle. All right, moving closer and closer to B, which would be that 90-degree position. You see I'm stopping just short of that 90-degree in relation to gravity because I do have a pulley now. And again, pulleys are more or less like dumbbells that allow you to just change the line of pull or tension. And finally, again, going heavier in weight, now approaching a more contracted position. All right, moving more towards that B position where it can produce the most tension, the most myosin actin cross bridge attachments, to now performing a variation, right, of a single arm cable pulley row, or known as another Meadows row variation coined by John Meadows, which is an IFBB bodybuilder. You can find him at Mountain Dog Diet or testosteronation.com, which this movement allows you to move well beyond that contracted arm position at the side of the body to behind it to get some real good shoulder extension. So I hope you guys liked this other addition to the extended leverage set library. And if you have any comments, please leave them below. Go ahead and like and subscribe. Thanks, and happy lifting.